Okay.
Okay, we're starting.
Good day, audience. Thank you for coming. So let me introduce my group and tell a little about each member. So my name is Oljas. My background is law, but in this project I'm representative of the management field. The second stage is for Angela. She's responsible for second stage for assessment. Despite that her background is international trade, she's going to apply for master's degree in education, so she's responsible for education discipline. The third stage is for UCL. I think she is only one in our group who followed her specialization from the beginning, so she is the representative of architecture design. And the conclusion is for Arshia. Her first major is engineering, but she's going to apply for finance, so here she's a representative of the finance discipline. So before I start, may I ask you a few questions? Just raise your hand. Who is in this room knows more than one language? Just raise your hand. I think it should be almost everyone. And the second question, who thinks that learning foreign language is difficult? Okay, cool. So next slide. So our group decided to think how to open the language learning cafe. Yeah. Next slide. So why knowing the more than one language is important and why the issue of cross-language learning is relevant. So according to Odlin, 1989, when the communicative needs of people go beyond what gestures and other paralinguistic signals can achieve, some use of second language becomes necessary. And according to Ethan, claims that second language is a ticket and one of a number of skills to higher level job. So knowing more than one language is like increasing your career opportunities. Next slide, please. So one of the main feature of our language cafe that in this cafe you can exchange only between English and Mandarin language, so only these two. According to data, the English and Chinese language is the most popular languages in the world. It's more than 1,300 million people speak in English and Chinese languages in the world. So you can see in the third position is only 160 million people. So it's like very big difference. So that's why we choose only English and Mandarin, because it's the most popular language in the world, and you can see in our room we have mostly like Mandarin speakers. Yeah. So please, next slide. So the problem is that learning English for Chinese people and learning Mandarin for English speakers is very difficult, because it's, in our opinion, it's very difficult language systems. One of the reasons why English is known for being difficult is because it's full of contradictions. Just for example, like oversee and overlook word have opposite meanings, while look and see mean the same thing. So for us, for foreigners, it's very difficult to understand the English language. So the one more thing, that English language use articles, Chinese doesn't. English use conjugates verbs, Chinese doesn't. English has gendered pronouns, for example, he, she, it. Whereas Chinese has one word for all three as a ta. So English uses plurals, Chinese doesn't. So, whereas learning Mandarin is very hard for English speakers, learning the tones of Mandarins is for an English-speaking person much more difficult than learning the sounds. So only the A letter in Mandarin language have 4 tones, which is very difficult. So please, next slide. So why cafe? Why we choose the special place for learning these 2 languages? So according to Corder 1966, language is not a knowledge but set of skills. So you can learn the casual language by studying in the traditional sense, because there is a lot of accents, slangs, idioms, expressions, metaphors, dialects in English language, and there is a lot of way of speaking for English persons. So it's better to practice your English with a lot of different native speaker, increase your listening skills. So in this cafe, we given a chance to turn your activities into language learning opportunities. And language is always evolving, along with popular culture, current events, and more. Cultural references are constantly embedded in people's language. So one more reason why we choose cafe, because of schedule. You can come in this place in any time. You don't have to wake up in the 9 in the morning and go to this place. It's up to you. Whatever you will find a free time, you just can go and learn English. The other reason is because the loose surrounding can enable people feel relaxed. We're planning to create a very good atmosphere when you can feel relaxed, and if you feel yourself relaxed, you can maybe create more ideas. And the future integrations in an open platform. In this slide, you can see the range our disciplines, and we are classified each discipline. So according to Becher and Trauler, we classified our disciplines. So we have 3 divergent disciplines, and 1 is converged discipline, which is finance. You also can see the which approaches we are going to use in this project. So, for example, for architecture architecture design, its ability of identifying the basic needs of fundamental space. Our presentation will show that cooperation of these 4 fields, as we understand, it's multidisciplinary work. So our cooperation, these 4 fields, in our opinion, it's multidisciplinary work, and that this cooperation of these 4 disciplines, it's more close to the ocean of knowledge metaphor. So the part about the assessments will be presented by my lovely colleague Angela.
Okay, thank you, Andres.
Yep.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Angela, and I will introduce stage 2 about assessment of our project. First, I will talk about the role of each member of this project. We roughly divide into 6 steps. The first step, we have an initial consent about how to construct a cafe with international and cultural characteristics. The main function of this cafe is to serve for language learning and communication. In this step, we focus on finding connection between the architecture and education. So I must work with TC. And in the second step, after we have the general idea, we plan having a joint design on this concept under the help of the computer technology. Yeah. And in the third step, we begin to evaluate and present the project from whole 4 disciplines, such as specific to some material recalculation and operational structure from the management view, and potential consumer groups. And after whole evaluation, and we'll get the final scheme. Actually, these 4 steps is more like conceptual design. If we have some problems or we have different opinions in our project, we will go back to discuss and solve the problem. And and the bidding and administration is absolutely belongs to financial management. We will find the sponsor and develop the capital with help from Asia and August. And after introduction about this project, our members also have new insights and this perspective when they considering the other disciplines. And the first is architecture from CC. And actually, the most designers and architects, they'll be able to control the expenditures, but they often to ignore the cost of labor. After working in this project, she learns the ability of controlling and prioritizing expenditure of project for specialized in management field. It's very useful for architecture community. And also in my area, I learned to use city resource to help learners and to avoid money consuming and energy consuming. And also how to find the way to improve the performance. From the financial view, how to use as a money principle is very important. And also Asia consider to have get a clear picture of the importance aspect of education and architecture, and reforming is required. And last part belongs to August. And he learns how to set the value of project and allocate the resources properly when working with different in a project with a specialists from different disciplines. Yeah. And we choose treaties definition because we think our project is tend to be multidisciplinary. Because according to Triton, in a multidisciplinary project, there are many experts from different independent disciplines and working for a single thing. A single thing cannot be solved alone by any single discipline. And even though maybe there's a researcher or specialist from, could be interdisciplinary. So, for example, maybe we can have a brilliant idea, but we cannot put it into practice without the help from the management and finance. And also, we think we have some part from it tend to be transdisciplinary because in theory, transdisciplinary is both behavior, novel behavior of discipline, and which is for achieving a fusion of disciplines. This breaking is overcoming the distance between the specialized and non-specialized. But we still choose multidisciplinary because we think the various argument is too general, and the trending is more specific. Yeah. And talking about the models, we think we use 3 models in the whole project. But the major model is Model 1 and Model 2 because we working together in the general model, and we solve the problem together. And also, just like in the 6 steps, the formal 4 steps, is our concept based on the education architecture, and the management and financial will support us. But actually, in the last 2 steps, we are the assistant for the 2 other disciplines. And we also think we have a small group in agonistic and antagonistic because it's like if from application view, if I want to use a feature decoration in the cafe, and it means we have to maybe use more money over the budget. So it's necessary to communicate with usher to overcome this problem. Yeah. And next, we come to our CC to introduce the challenge in this project. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk about our challenge and our difficulties. Before we found our difficulties, we predict our project in this group discussion. In each disciplines, we have some prediction of our integration in this area, learning cafe. For example, in architecture design, this designer have some abilities from realize the real object, real building. For example, we predict that designer can have the ability to translate from the abstract imagine to the real things, real object, the learning cafe. And also, the designer can use more precisely quantitative and qualitative method to design this project. Why so? Because the designer can use the numbers to count how many people will come to this cafe, and we suppose that the designer should have the working experience to design this cafe before we start this project. Maybe this will be not work together of our disciplines. And the second is education. We think education is too abstract to realize because they may be only focused on the end. How could the learning cafe be done on this project? It's too abstract for us. And in finance and economics, we think they only focus on the manufacturer costs. Why? Because maybe the imaginary design process is more qualitative, but they don't understand why this could used in this project, because they only believe the quantitative data as the reliable sources. And in management field, we think they only understand the more general, more broad field because they don't understand the specific thing. And before we start our discussion, management specialists, they can control very well of our each stages of this learning cafe design. And last thing, just like the education, they only care about the result, but different things is that education, Angela only care about is it work for the learning cafe, it should how workable the learning cafe can use exchange language platform. And in management, they only care about is it can be real design, realized in this project. So there are some challenges during our discussion. For example, according to Campbell, we make assumptions of other disciplines because we think it is easy to understand some specific disciplines, for example, education. We might think that education is only for educate learner. They just want to learn language, but there are something more meaningful behind these disciplines. And according to Bohan and Dinech, we think there is a biggest problem of a lack of knowledge because we ill-equipped of all of projects. We only know about the general thing. We don't know about the specific knowledge of other disciplines. And the last thing is each disciplines will propose and formulate different research methods in this project. For example, in architecture design, we will propose more abstract design plan or something, but in management, they will consider if the how to realize this project, maybe use some finance or engineering things, not only about architecture, because they don't understand real things in architecture design. And the second, we think the second challenge is too easy, because maybe the ability of manage the process of this discipline is too difficult for other disciplines. For example, education, they they have not very good at the management or monitoring the project process, but management specialists, they can do these things. So according to Massano and Bell, it's like devalued and deflated. And the third thing is qualitative or quantitative. Because in qualitative, we think, for example, architecture designer, they will use more meaningful things or more visible things to think about which kind of the interior design or architectural design space can use more comfortable or more workable place to realize this cross-language spatial composition. And however, for finance and economics, they will use more quantitative questionnaires or methods to count the real number of our costs. So it's different. And the last thing is esoteric terminology. For example, in architecture design, when we discuss this project, architecture design might propose some more difficult words, more professional words, difficult to understand for other disciplines. For example, like if we talk about the scale, maybe other disciplines they cannot understand. We will use more easily way like people's size or like furniture size. So these are our challenges and difficulties during our group discussion. Let's moving on to next stage, conclusion.
Thank you, Lucille. My name is Arshra. I'm from finance field. So I will start off by talking about metaphors. Nowadays we use metaphors for representing anything which in our daily life, and metaphors are used a lot for representing in academic sources and for representing interdisciplinary projects or a particular discipline. So let me start off with what is a metaphor. A metaphor is actually a process of giving a thing a name which belongs to something else. For example, very simple example, Juliet is a sun. So we are comparing Juliet to sun. We are saying Juliet is equal to sun, but it actually means that we are referring to the properties of sun, maybe brightness, or it gives you happiness with the person. So in academic writing, we have seen that a lot of metaphors have been used. So two major metaphors used to represent academic disciplines or interdisciplinary projects are Tribes and Territories by Becher and Trawler, 2001, and Oceans of Knowledge by Mathunga and Brew, 2012. The metaphor Oceans of Knowledge reflects our project more closely compared to Tribes and Territories. I would say that because what do you mean by ocean? Ocean is a vast water body which is made up of rivers flowing into it. So we can we can represent rivers as different disciplines, which is giving input to the ocean and creating a large water body. So in our project, as we have people from different fields, that's architecture, education, management and finance, so we all have put in our inputs to it to create a project, to create an interdisciplinary project. So it's more closely knit to the oceans of knowledge, which is everything coming together to create a big thing. We have rejected tribes and territories because it has a habit of displaying a hierarchy. It tends to separate and distinct the disciplines and tries to give importance to few disciplines which are well known, or people have a habit of there's a concept of hierarchy which used to be followed before. Now the trend has changed. So it was believed that maybe pure sciences were at the topmost and they could represent knowledge more efficiently than any other discipline. It has been argued that the watery nature of the metaphor oceans of knowledge can be unstable as it does not have any solid grounds. But if you actually see, even the ocean has a solid surface underneath. So it is, even if the metaphor oceans of knowledge is watery in nature, it has a solid foundation beneath it. So whatever the project we are applying has a solid foundation with the collaboration of all the different disciplines. Okay, now to summarize our project experience, it has been a lovely experience working with people from different disciplines, as we have been able to learn and understand how the various disciplines work and how we can apply it to our own field. So the most important lessons that we have taken away from this project are how to understand the different disciplines and to accommodate them in our field, to understand how the different disciplines work and how they approach a problem. And secondly, the main thing that we have learned is how to make a project economic friendly, because we all have various ideas to do something, but in reality we are always faced by the problem of finance. So we have learned by organizing this project that working in a budget is something really important and it needs a very open approach for it. Okay, thank you for listening to our presentation. And now if you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah.
Yes?
As I understood, you're planning to build this cafe in London, yes?
Yeah.
As I know, there are a lot of cafes which aims is for a language exchange. And don't you think that it will be a wise investment? Maybe as a finance, actually, yeah?
It will be a?
It will be unwise investment.
There are many cafes which work in this concept, but we are only focusing on Mandarin and English. So it's a very specific venture. So it might, it has a lot of potential to be in the market, because being London, you have people, you have a lot of people coming in from China, and a lot of China is something which is coming up as a country. So there are, people from England, they travel to China for business purposes, for education, for everything. So being a very specific field for only Mandarin and English, it's going to help us a lot when it comes to capturing the market.
And have you ever visited this cafe in London?
Yes.
I think there are not
several bars.
There's mostly bars, not cafe, and they are not like structures. It's just a house inside of this. You just walking around, it's kind of networking session. But in our cafe, if it would be more detailed presentation about the project, not about the multidisciplinary work, we could be explain these features of this cafe and why. Because our education side of our project created a special structured thing of exchanging language. So it's not just like a bar, you just meet up places in London.
And our inspiration is from our pre-master course because it's a hub. The students are come from China, so yeah.
So it's not just like
Project.
meetup place, special education system.
Wow, it's something.
Yeah, but
doesn't really
but we're not deep in details, so,
Yeah, of course.
because it's a presentation about multidisciplinary work. Thank you for question.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Yes.
Thank you. During your preparation, during your teamwork, did you felt the requirement of another discipline to your project? If there was a requirement of the other ideas from the different disciplines, or your 4 discipline was enough to achieve your main aim?
Actually, if for detail, it's impossible because cafe for a real construction, it will have a lot of disciplines like engineering, mathematics, like these things, or
Law.
landscape, law, yes, policy making, before we do the real project. Yes.
But just coming up with a concept, our 4 disciplines were good enough for it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Have you had any difficulty to when you discuss about each discipline or our project?
Yes, it's really difficult because we think education is too abstract, untangible. We cannot imagine what is education. Is only for educate people, or it should be have more.
Like we didn't have knowledge about other disciplines. It was to understand. Our first challenge was to understand the other discipline and how it works.
Yeah, sometimes in the language the confusion just a way to understand the culture. Yeah, so culture is complicated and it's really hard to explain. It's a little bit abstract.
Any more
Yeah.
questions?
Do you have any questions?
And about the feedback form, were you able to answer the question? Was it understandable? Was the presentation understandable?
Oh yes, the content was very good. I got a lot of new information regarding Chinese Mandarin language structure.
Thank you.
Any other comments on that? Okay. Do you maybe look at that in a moment? We'll finish here. Kenshi, we can just finish that.
Excuse me, do I have to give you the contract? Hard copy of contract?
You